The parents of the 7-year-old boy who was maced by police at a protest in Seattle are speaking out, and it has sparked a debate. Still, many families are bringing their children to peaceful protests, even though the mother of the boy who was maced says she feels like a failure because her son was traumatized. So DBL Nation, should children be at protests even if they are meant to be peaceful? I'm going to read your comments and then get Erica and Jeff's take. Jeff, here is the first comment. Jill from Facebook says, people are protesting because they are fed up with police brutality. So I don't get why a parent would drag their kids out of the house during a global pandemic to confront questionable law enforcement. What do you make of that, Jeff?
There's a lot that goes into this, Sam, and I can only speak for how old my kids are. They're 3 and 1, and the reason I don't go to Disneyland right now is because they might not remember it, so I don't want to waste all that money, even though it's a great idea. So is the protest. I'd like to see them see a peaceful protest and be part of history, but I'm afraid they wouldn't understand it. And then with the COVID on top of everything, it's just a no for me, but not saying I'm against it. That's just where I'm at in my life right now.
Fair enough. Erica, here's the next comment. Allison from Facebook says, all kids are different. My 9-year-old is more of an activist than I am, and it makes me proud. You usually can tell when chaos is erupting. Just avoid it and leave if things get out of hand. What would you say to that, Erica?
Yeah, I've had a problem with this issue because I grew up going to protests with my parents because there were church groups or community organizations we were a part of that we'd all go together. This is really one of the first in recent memories where the press has been under attack. People who are clearly doing nothing wrong and being very peaceful are under attack. So I think that it's probably changed a lot of parents' opinions on whether they want to subject their child to that or not. But if you're in a peaceful protest, history for most of us would tell us it's okay for a kid to be there. This is where it's gotten out of control.
Interesting. Cindy from Facebook says, in my neighborhood, we planned a day at a park where the kids could make signs for family members going to the peaceful protest. Personally, I would never bring my child, or children rather, to a protest. Yeah, I think for me, if my child was older and I saw like Sophie had an activist heart, I would want to promote that in her. So clearly, if I knew that, there was a lot of violence breaking out the night before or the day before, maybe I would pick an area or a time of the day that would minimize that, but I would never want to discourage her activism. So I think it depends on the age. I think there's ways that you can minimize that risk personally. One more question for you, Jeff. Tim from YouTube says, I don't allow my 6-year-old twins to watch too much of all the gloom and doom on the news, let alone take them to the places where it's all happening. People are being shot at.
Listen, I get the concern because sometimes I feel like I'm a little overprotective of my kids. Again, they're 3 and 1, but at 6 years old, I think maybe TV is the answer. Show them the positive things. We're making history right now. People are going to remember 2020 for a negative thing. I don't think so. I think it's going to be positive, and I think you got to inform your kids about that because they're definitely going to learn about it later on in life.
Yeah, and start them young. Sophie and I were doing the sidewalk chalk yesterday. We were doing Black Lives Matter on the sidewalk. We were doing rainbows for pride, and I think just getting them familiar, of course she doesn't understand it right now, but getting them familiar with those conversations, in my opinion, is only a good thing.